We just emit a lot of oxytocin when we're falling in love, bonding, connecting, and breastfeeding, which helps the bond between the mother and the baby. So it's a natural, primal component of our brain and our system's makeup. So that's kind of a unique piece about what happens when two women can get together.
Hello, everyone. I am Michelle Melville Cashon. I am the Community and Content Director here at Sexual Health Alliance. And today I'm with Dr. Lauren Costine. Hi, Dr. Lauren. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, Michelle. It's really great to be here. Hi, yeah, my name's Dr. Lauren, the queer women psychologist. So I've been a psychologist for over 25 years, working in mental health in many different capacities, but really focusing over the last 20 years, LGBTQ mental health, and then mostly lesbian and queer women. And it's just a passion of mine. It's been, a big part of my own personal journey, and then such an honor to work with the community so closely around all of our different issues and strengths and health needs.
Yes, wonderful. Well, you will be presenting at our online weekend event. So it's called Smart Love and Inclusive Intimacy. It's an online event for Sexual Health Alliance. It's happening at the end of June. And so your talk title is going to be about breaking the U-Haul myth. So for anybody who is brand new here and not sure what the U-Haul myth even is, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's there's a joke, right? What does a lesbian bring to the second date? A U-Haul. So this idea that lesbians move in together after the second date, but it's really also talking about the immense emotional closeness and intensity that can happen between two women when they connect, really like strongly immediately. And then there's that pull to sort of like be together all the time and continue to feel the good feelings and things like that. So that's the story behind it. The myth is that yes, it happens, and it also doesn't happen. Like it just really depends on the lesbian or queer women's, situation and what they're actually dealing with.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody is different. And I imagine that there's pros and cons to that situation. So feeling the intense connection, wanting to be together all the time. So what are some of the pros and cons someone might experience?
The pros are that it feels really good. So all of us feel amazing when we're falling in love or we're infatuated. Like we're just the human brain is wired for that. The difference between when you have two women is that there's what I call the oxytocin fest, or the opportunity for what's called the oxytocin fest, because we just emit a lot of oxytocin when we're falling in love, bonding, connecting, and breastfeeding, which helps the bond between the mother and the baby. So it's a natural, primal component of our brain and our system's makeup. So that's kind of a unique piece about what happens when two women can get together.
Yeah.
So that's the pro, because it feels really good. And if you're really connecting with someone, you're just gonna like have a wonderful honeymoon period and a wonderful time of really getting, that you can always have to build that foundation.
Right.
The cons are if there isn't a strong sense of self, or there's addiction tendencies to like loving the merging, or there's some unresolved attachment issues, like someone's really avoidant and the other's really anxious. This can create dynamics that almost always blow up. Now, we see this in all relationships, like it's straight, it's gay, it's lesbian, it's queer. It doesn't matter. However, when the intensity is like this, or there's sort of a merging, what can get lost is that intensity is mistaken for intimacy, and it's mistaken for knowing the person. Like, I know you, and you feel that, like, I know you, like, we're getting each other, but everyone's
Yeah.
on good behavior in the honeymoon period.
Oh, yes.
And everyone, you can start thinking like, I know there can be projection, there can be a lot of things that start going on. People are not necessarily as forthcoming about their shadow parts in the beginning. So you're kind of hiding that. And some people, if they haven't really done a lot of work, will seem, will act more compatible than they are.
Mm,
And so that can create a lot of blind spots that then the connection is solidified. And yet down the road, when the honeymoon invariably ends, there's all these things that show up and it's like, what's happening? How did this happen?
yeah.
So
And do you think that this myth can shape queer women's expectations going into a relationship?
yeah, of course. It's like, I mean, either of like, I'm never going to do that, or yeah, that's what we do and it's good, because one of the things that's always happened in like queer women relationships is, we're out of the heteronormative lens of like, sort of the world even looking or watching, So we've made our rules up along the way, how they kind of suit us. And that's been wonderful, right? Because we have this really incredible, thriving community in many ways. But then sort of, maybe dating a little slower or taking your time can get lost in the mix, in the shuffle, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's a little, it's like anything. I sort of live in this place that Jung called the tension of the opposites. It's sort of always a little bit of both. There's always like, and that's, kind of what busting this myth is about. It's like, yes, this is possible, but it doesn't always happen. It doesn't define us. We don't want it to define us, but we want to be aware of it as well. And we want clinicians to be aware of it. We want mental health providers, coaches, to be aware, right?
Right. Absolutely. And that's what this weekend is about. So, bringing education and awareness. So, at Sexual Health Alliance, our audience is pretty vast. So, we have therapists, educators, counselors, coaches, medical professionals, industry professionals in business. So, what are some things like a key takeaway or something you think professionals need to know?
Be curious. If you're the people you're working with are showing up with relationship issues, or they're sort of bringing that to you because they don't have, they're not kind of in deep therapy and kind of doing this affirmative work. Be curious about, what is really happening in their relationship history,
Mhm.
right? And if they seem to have, like, if they seem to be going in and out of a lot of relationships, that would be a good time to, explore. Are you getting, are you really getting some real help around this? That would be, could help you figure out what's going on. Right. So that would be the thing that I would suggest, because the symptom is going to be like they have a relationship every 2 years, or nothing ever lasts, or, that's where we'll see the problems. And the thing about that is that can create a lot of stress and a lot of distress. And then that can affect them physically, emotionally, mentally, all kinds of levels. It can interfere with thriving. It can interfere with career, because, there's so many getting into a relationship, breaking up, getting in, breaking up. And that over time is just, it's just so hard on the system and on the on the psychology.
Yeah, that's just mentally and emotionally exhausting just thinking about that.
Exactly, it is. And, breakups are so hard
Yeah.
on our systems. They're literally like having a broken leg. The nervous system is like having a broken leg, and it's very hard to put the nervous system into a cast. So it can feel, for some folks, a breakup can feel like they're going crazy. And that's really normal, but it can last for months, which feels like, this is never going to end. And, is this going to kill me? And am I ever going to be okay again? And so a lot of things that I work with is like, look, it could, everyone's different, but 90 days, you could be in this really, really, really painful place. But if you really do the healing, you're going to get to the other side and be stronger than you've ever been in your entire life. It's hard to hold on to that when there's like so much emotional pain going on. But when someone's finally ready to go through it, it's an incredible growth opportunity to like never have to do this again.
Yes. And I mean, for some people too, there's more dimension to it. Like they might have kids, they might have shared pets, they might have a shared friend group. And so you add all of those extra pieces to it, and it can be a lot.
It's a lot because you can be losing a lot, or you have to still talk to somebody that you're having so many issues with that even just talking to them sort of can, bring back a lot of negative feelings or feeling bad about yourself, or just can be very triggering. So those dimensions, losing a friendship circle, say you found your lesbian friendship circle, queer women's friendship circle with your partner,
Yeah.
what happens there? So a lot of grief can be a lot of loss, a lot of grief in that component, which also, as you said, adds a lot of dimensions. And then maybe having to start over, none of that feels good.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so, what are some of the most common issues that you see in your practice?
I do see the most common issues is getting out of a bad relationship, like emotionally abusive. Maybe with somebody who's got a lot of personality disorder traits and is manipulating and gaslighting and doing all the things, but the attachment is so strong and leaving. And even though everyone around them eventually sees how bad this is, it takes a really long time to be done.
Yeah.
For some people, you hear about marriages, 20 years, they're in these really, really like very, very dysfunctional, painful relationships. Hopefully, if they're working with someone, it's not going to be like that. Those folks often are not doing the work. They just stay and then eventually realize they need to get out. But that's the toughest thing. And then that's the toughest thing for family and friends, because it's like anything, you're not ready to do it until you're ready.
Yeah.
So, you can plant seeds, you can say, what can I do to support you and help you? You can tell them you got to leave this person. Come on. What do and, they're going to do what they're going to do. So what I've also seen is friends and inner circle people getting exhausted as well.
Yeah.
And frustrated, and they'll stop talking. They have to stop talking about it. They'll be like, I can't hear about what your partner's doing to you anymore. Like I can't. We've been doing this for years now and nothing's changing. That kind of thing. I see a lot. That's the hardest, and it's hard on therapists.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard on coaches. It's hard on all of us that are working with, because you care about them. And you see them struggling, but you see them so stuck, and ultimately it's got to be their decision, because it is. I think it can be life threatening, obviously, but addiction and things like that are more where an intervention is more likely to occur, like with a substance addiction, where it's like, well, could kill you tomorrow, so you have to go somewhere, kind of a thing. This can be much longer process.
Right. And I think I've been the bystander to many a bad relationships throughout my life.
Okay.
And, you can't get too involved. That's the thing, as like the friend, you can't get too into their relationship, even though you want to, because, ultimately it could harm your connection with your friend.
Exactly.
It's a hard space to be in.
It is. It's hard to hold space when you see someone that you love and care about in such a difficult situation and they're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard. It's a good point. I'm glad. Yeah. I've watched it too.
Yeah.
as a therapist, as a friend, so yeah. And I think that's not as sort of like, I guess it's part of the myth, in the sense that there isn't so much understanding of how stuck someone can get, a lesbian or queer woman can get in a relationship, and how hard it is for them to leave. And how much sort of like denial there may be. And then what is the support circle? What do they do? Like you said, you can't get too involved. You certainly can't, tell them what to do or anything, but you have to and it can actually affect the closeness of the friendship.
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
Because you can't continue to stay in it.
Mhm.
Right. And so I see, and I'm sure you've seen, they might start losing friends
Right.
and maybe not, and in the sort of denial mechanism, not realizing it's actually associated with this particular situation that
Yeah.
they are not ready to really, do anything about.
Right. So, my last question for you, do you ever see or treat any sexual health issues in your practice?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Difficulty. The thing I really encounter the most, and I would say it's, older women, honestly, I work with a whole range of ages,
Yeah.
is orgasm with their partner,
Hmm.
letting go, and then, and even telling them how difficult it is. And so that's one of the things that I see the most difficulty with some women, depending on their situation around orgasm. And if it's been challenging for them and they really didn't, they haven't really felt worthy enough to say, I need to really, I want to figure this out.
Yeah.
And, and so they can get embroiled in sort of like not being honest with the partner. And then as time goes on, it's much harder to get honest.
Yeah. And do you find there's ever like an assumption, maybe with queer women, like, oh, well, you have the same parts. You should easily know how to make someone orgasm. Is that an issue ever?
Oh my gosh, of course. Yeah, of course. And then, if the sex isn't really working out, if it's hard for one to express their needs, how do you say, "Oh no, please, that feels better," or "Go over here," or "Move to the left," or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And if one hasn't found their voice yet,
Mhm.
and they don't want, and I find this a lot, really being afraid of conflict,
Yes.
being afraid of like hurting anyone's feelings or like making your partner feel bad. And this is going to be in the other areas of their life. And then it comes into the bedroom, this very intimate, very powerful, very intense experience with the other person. And then all of those things that one struggles with in general is entering in that room. And then if you don't discuss it sort of right away, then it's like, well, how do I find my path now? And then time and time and time and time goes, and then it feels harder.
Yeah.
And I think it's really very common for some women to really feel that they can express what they need and say it out loud and not feel like they're like offending, disappointing, all of these things, right?
Oh, exactly. Such a good point.
Yeah. So that's what I see the most.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. If you want to hear more from Dr. Lauren, you can attend our online event happening Saturday, June 21st and Sunday, June 22nd, 2025. Smart Love and Inclusive Intimacy, Online's Exceptional Weekend. You can get tickets at our website at sexualhealthalliance.com, and there'll also be a link in the description below. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
All right.
Bye.
Everyone. Thanks for watching our video with Dr. Lauren Costine. Do us a favor, share this with someone who might benefit from this information. Your support helps us reach more people with important sexual health information. If you're passionate about this space, we know you'll enjoy these videos, so check them out. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and remember, you are exceptional.